Hey there, another Hiya G.I. Joe action figure has arrived, and this one is Flint. So you can see the card art. The card art looks really pretty nice over here on the left side. You got the figure on the right side. We'll flip this thing around, and you can see that there are the promo images up there, and then lots of information down below. Let's get this thing open. Let's not waste any more time. Here he is off the card, and well, we'll have a discussion about him in just a moment. First off, we're going to take a look at these accessories, beginning with his main shotgun. Now, most of these accessories look just like the Classified series. This one does as well, except for the mechanism where it breaks. It kind of, the front end tilts down. This one doesn't have it like the Classified does. So you have just kind of a futuristic looking pump shotgun here. Then there's what I would classify a secret accessory. You have a smaller handgun. This was actually in his holster while he was in the package. Then you get the backpack that holds his shotgun. See, there's the peg just to show you it does hook onto his back. There's also his beret, and it fits on quite nicely. You get a set of trigger finger hands, which surprisingly are not installed by default on the figure. We'll get to which ones are on the figure in just a moment. Then finally you get this battlefield figure stand. There's the dot, there's some pullets, there's some ground all over the place, and two of these little I-beams so that you can connect these battlefield figure stands and create a really cool looking display for your Hiya G.I. Joe figures. So now jumping in to take a look at the figure, we'll scoot these off to the side, bring him just a little bit closer. So the biggest concern, question, curiosity has revolved around his face head. Now, this is the first Hiya G.I. Joe figure that has had an unmasked head. He's got a naked face. And I've seen several different referrals, like maybe it looks a little bit like the Joker. It's kind of a clownish face. It's just not great. Well, upon further inspection with this figure in hand, I do agree. I mean, it looks really, really rough. It doesn't look all that great, but I think it's because of the dark line of that scar. If it wasn't such a dark black line, it wouldn't look so much like makeup. If it was more of a pinkish, like it's, like I don't know how many people who have like a black scar, unless it's like dried blood, but anyway, I think that's the problem. Let me pull out the Classified Flint here. So you can take a look at the scar that he has there, and it's not as noticeable because it's more of a pinkish, lightish color. It's very subdued. It's kind of hard to see it. And I think that is probably one of the biggest problems with this face, is that scar. Sculpting aside, I mean, if the scar was more pink and not as visible, we might have some other curiosities to be talking about in regards to this face. But scar aside, I actually don't think the face is horrible. He looks like a battle-worn man who has seen a lot of battles. You know, battle-worn, lots of battles makes perfect sense, right? So anyway, he's got a very Flint look to him, and he's got an extremely Classified Flint look to him. He's got the same style vest here with the bullets and the pockets. We'll flip him around. It's the same kind of battle armor vest. He's got green camo pants, and I think the camo looks actually pretty good. It's a little bit different than the Classified. We'll bring the Classified in here. Let's move this over here, but it's a little bit different camo. The Classified figure has some interesting texture on the pants, and the Hiya figure doesn't have that texture, and so it's just an interesting camo. I like it. I think it looks really good. And then down to brown boots and the shin armor. That's what it is, the shin armor. So going back towards the articulation, it's just like the other Hiya figures. Rotation, ball joint for the head. There are pinless joints, so you got pinless elbows. Look how far up he can bring that arm. Got the bicep rotation. He can bring his arms up about that high. He's got this kind of a round, this is a larger butterfly joint that's sticking out of the arm. I'll bring him a little bit closer, but it's like right up in there. It's bigger. Let's see, rotate the arm around quite easily. He's got the ball joint wrist, so he doesn't have a peg or anything there. There is a at least a rotation at the waist. I'm not quite sure. I can't really see in under the vest. Oh, yeah, I can see right through there. I can see a little bit of a cut. So he does have a torso cut, but you just, with his vest, you can't use it. He's got the drop-down legs, drop-down hips, I guess, if you want to call it. So if you want to do the splits, he can go about that far. You have hindrances over here, the right side holster, and there's some pouches on the left side that are kind of stopping that. If you want him to sit, that's about his angle because of the vest a little bit there. Tuck his hips back up in there. Now, he does have rotating thighs, but I discovered that if you're not careful, then when you're trying to rotate the legs, the legs actually pop off. There's a ball joint up in there that rotates as well. There we go. We got double pinless knee right there. There's nothing around the boot cut. There's just a hinge and a pivot at the ankles. So he can lean back that far. And he can lean forward, unfortunately, only about that far, it looks like. That's kind of surprising. It's that shin armor. Doesn't allow him to go forward very far. But he's got other ranges of motion. So, like, if you need him to stand or something like that, he can be flat-footed. I don't know if I can actually get him to stand like this, but... I mean, you could... There you go, look at that. You can balance him like that. And doesn't he look so pleased with himself? Let's go ahead and get him geared up. I think he looks better with his beret than without. So we'll get this tucked on there. I mean, doesn't that just, like, heaps and tons better? That just looks so much better. I'm gonna put this on, and we're gonna see if this works. Hey, that worked really well. Not sure which direction this is actually supposed to go. I'm trying to imagine if I'd reach back. If I'm right-handed, I'd probably reach that way. Let's see. Kind of think it's meant to go that way, but it's a really tight fit. Yeah, I think it's meant to go that way. And then, of course, the handgun we'll put back where it came from in the right side holster. Yeah, just like so. Pull this, it's really tight. Really tight. And so, anyway, I didn't mention, he comes with, built-in, kind of like a left open hand, and then a right, more fist closed hand. It's definitely not meant for a gun, it's more meant for like a knife. We're gonna swap that out. And maybe it's pretty tight there. See if I can get this on. And it took a lot of struggle, but we got the hand on. He's kind of contorted just a little bit. So now, I hope it's worth it. I hope it looks good to put the gun in that hand. It's a kind of a tight hand. Oh man, really? I probably should have put the shotgun in the hand first. Oh, I'm doing it like completely wrong. Hang on. Because of the design of the shotgun handle, it's actually kind of difficult to get the hand on that shotgun. I'm having a feeling that if you get that hand on the shotgun and you're displaying these things, I think it's on, you're probably going to want to just remove the hand, leave the shotgun attached, and be on with your day, because yeah, that's just the design is really difficult. And the hand, let's bring this thing just a little bit closer so you can see it a little bit better. But part of the trick is getting the fingers around the front, getting the trigger finger in there, and getting the thumb in that hole. So it is just a little bit tricky. Now, once it's on, look at that. I guess he's always going to be aiming down with it. If I rotate, I guess I can rotate the wrist up on the ball joint. Looks like that arm is a little bit loose. Oh, there we go. But I would say that right arm's just a little loose. So it might not hold a pose very well, but I guess you can kind of get it straight if you really try. So just depends on your posing ability. Mine's not awesome. I'm going to have to work on that. Learn how to pose figures much better than what I do. So anyway, there's Flint. He's all decked out. He's geared out. I don't think he looks too bad. Like I said, I think the biggest problem with him is the black scar. I think it's just too pronounced. Now let's take a look at this figure next to the classified version, because there are differences and I want to point some of them out. Beginning with that scar, as I pointed out earlier, the small guy has the black line, the large guy has more of a pink line, and I think it looks more natural up there. It's actually really interesting to look at some of the details. For example, the small guy has the bullets on his belt painted silver, whereas there is no paint, the shells, I guess, because it's a shotgun, but there are no painted ones on his belt on the big guy. And for just a little bit of an interesting detail, and it's going to be kind of hard to show it to you because it's so far away, but let me bring him a little bit closer here, get him in focus, because it wants to focus in on big guy there. If you see here, his shoelaces are painted. They're painted black on the brown boots. When we get over here to the classified figure, I'll just point out right here, I don't know if you can see it very well, but they're not painted at all. It's just a very fascinating little detail to me. I also mentioned earlier how classified's pants have this texture. Most of the classified figures have this weird, odd little, I guess, pant-like texture for their pants. And so it kind of dulls the gray camo, the dark camo, just a little bit, making it look a little more gray. Whereas the small guy doesn't have the texture, it's smooth, and the camo is darker. And I actually like the brighter camo a little bit better than this more grayed out camo. Up here you've got this Joe Pro communicator on Flint's left shoulder. The classified is definitely more detailed, is much better looking. The little GoPro I think seems to be a bit of an afterthought with Hiya, kind of funny. And surprisingly, his shotgun has a lot less detail, kind of putting them there sideways, if we can get him to stay standing for a second more. But there are gold paint on the shotgun shells, whereas there's no paint over here. You got the brown handle, and it's kind of a darker brown handle, but it's interesting. There's a lot less detail on Flint's shotgun than there has been on some of the other Hiya action figures. There's a silver paint on Hiya Flint. There is on the belt buckle, there is more of a darker color for his belt buckle. The shotgun shells are several colors up here, gold, and it looks like a black, whereas Hiya has just silver on both sides. And the Hiya figure has a little bit more detail on the body armor than the classified versions. Flip them around and see if that's the same on the back. It's kind of hard to see with this massive, huge backpack there, but I would say they're about equal in their own way. They've got different colors, different details, and so forth. But it's interesting. These figures really truly cost almost the same amount of money. It's about $22, $25, depending on where you find it. And I think Flint was part of the $22.99 wave of figures before they were up to $24.99. And I would say the level of articulation and detail is just about equal on this little 4-inch guy compared to the 6-inch. Let's get on to looking at all the Hiya figures together. I like to end these videos standing all the Hiya figures next to each other just for an overall height comparison, I'm sure, and I'm really hoping that one day it gets to be so many that I have to be much more pickier, much more choosier of which ones I put up. But we got the Storm Shadow, and the Firefly, and the Beachhead. Cobra Commander's not really going to fit in the group picture very well. Guess we're gonna have to stack them a little bit behind each other. Firefly, I think it's the vest. He's got issues standing sometimes, or maybe it's his leg positioning right there. Yeah, whatever. Let's see. We'll put. I think Destro is the tallest of all the figures so far. He looks like it, with maybe Snake Eyes being a close second for height. Actually, Snake Eyes doesn't have to be quite as far over. So, as soon as we get Firefly going here, and not getting bumped anymore, there we are. We have all the Hiya G.I. Joe figures released thus far. The regular style Destro will be arriving, I believe, for me today, actually. So, we'll get to swap out the Destros, and we'll have regular style Destro. But here is all the Hiya G.I. Joe action figures thus far. What a cool looking group. And I'm so excited that these things are actually finally getting released. We've all been waiting for these things for so long, and it's just so much fun to see this little small group of 4-inch G.I. Joe figures coming together. These figures are better, I would say, than the 25th anniversary. I mean, all these years have gone on, better articulation, better toy technology, so to speak, and these things, I just hope they keep going. I'd hope we get like all the classified styles and then we get more branched out ones. That would be so awesome to just keep getting these every every month or so. That would just be really awesome. Anyway, thank you for stopping by and watching. I will see you next time.